What's up? Welcome to another episode of All Over Voiceover Kiff VH. I'm your host, Kiff VH. With me, the lovely, the talented Ally Dixon. Ally and I worked together on the Croods family tree, where she played my TV daughter, Eep, to Grug, and we've been fast friends ever since. And we've worked on other things, like Macaw and who knows what else. But anyway,
I'm sure there's more.
I'm sure there's more.
We don't know.
That's the intro business. But so like, you know. I mean,
what?
Well, I know you're from Tennessee originally, right?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. It's my origin story is. I don't even want to say confusing. It's not confusing. It's not confusing, but I feel like I'm from nowhere.
Huh.
I was born in Florida.
Okay.
Which we don't talk about. And then, and most of my extended family is still in Florida. And then we moved to Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And then we moved to
what part of Pennsylvania?
York. Like York peppermint patties.
Is that where they make them?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's where York is headed.
York, Pennsylvania. Close to Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is where Hershey, right?
Yeah.
And I did a summer contract there when I was graduated college. I did a summer performing contract
so you did theme park work.
I did the theme park work. I was in their country show. I sang a little Taylor Swift, you know. No big deal. And then we moved from Pennsylvania when I was like 6 or 7 to Houston, Texas.
Okay.
And then I was in Houston till I was 11.
All right.
And then we were in Kansas City until I graduated.
Okay.
And then I went to New York for my first year of college because I was like, get me out of here.
Yes.
And then after a year in New York, I had a bunch of FAFSA stuff fall through. And so I lost all my financial aid because I was at a liberal arts school. And my parents were the most amazing, supportive, like want me to do whatever I want to do. Yeah. But, and I thank my father to this day so much for it now, but wouldn't take out loans. He was just paying for school.
Wow.
So he was like, I have enough to send you back for the next semester. I don't know if by the end of that semester I'll have enough to send you back for the and he was like, my God, please come to an in-state school.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I'll send you to New York every summer. And I was like, I'll take out loans myself to go back to New York. And he was like, please don't, you know. So like, and I didn't understand. Now as an adult, I understand what was happening there. But as a kid, I didn't. Kid, 18-year-old, 19-year-old,
still,
right? Still.
But like it's that you're accustomed to. As I just grabbed a bunch of student loans when I went to. My parents couldn't afford where I went. I went to a liberal arts school too in Grand Rapids. Yeah. And it was like, you know, not to crap all over the liberal arts college experience. But I mean, like, that's the thing, too. If you're going to New York, like, you want to go to New York. Yeah. But you're going to New York within this little context.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. 1,000%. I went to the new school. And I loved, well, it's funny. After the way you just put it is so interesting. After the first semester, I actually kind of wanted to leave. Because I was like, I either want to go to college or I want to be in New York. Like, it was almost getting difficult for me to walk by the marquees and not be actively trying to do that.
100%.
And then I, like, talked to I transferred advisors, and then, because at liberal arts also, they wouldn't let you, like, start what you wanted to major in the first year.
Like, you do a year and a half of, like, core college.
Yes, core, and, like, stuff way less than the gen eds at, like, a public college. But, like, writing, philosophy, like, whatever it had to be for those, like, liberal arts nerds. I'm one of those. That wasn't an insult to other liberal arts nerds. But I like was about to leave, and then I had all these meetings with these wonderful teachers, and they started to kind of create a community within the school. That I like ended up stage managing a show. I started to get put into the acting side because you're kind of kept out that first year.
Yes.
And then I literally like changed my mind. I did a play. I ended up doing like a local play in New York with a bunch of other students. And I was like, oh, I'm back in. And then that July, I got a letter saying, because my father was paying for my sister's school as well.
Okay.
And he used a bunch of stock options to pay for my sister's Florida State. She was at Florida State. And it registers as higher income when you go to when you cash out stock options. And so they were like, you've lost all your need-based. And I was like, well, that's nice. So I got a letter in July, and they were like, you can appeal. But I was like, registered for classes in August.
Yeah.
So I just scrambled to transfer, and I chose Missouri State University because it was in-state, and it was the only program in Missouri that had a BFA program, which this is my famous claim to fame. I was the only kid in my high school who was like, I'm going to do musical theater. And I had no support from anyone in the high school. And then I auditioned for 6 programs, like throughout my senior year, got into 0. So that's how I ended up. And the new school was like kind of my top choice anyway. I'd visited a year before and like was like, oh wait, I like it here.
Yeah.
So it was like almost a consolation prize, but it was okay.
Yeah.
And so I went to Missouri State because I was like, I guess I'll give it one more last ditch attempt. Yeah. And I got it. So I had to audition like as a current student and like wait it out and like live alone in an apartment. I had no friends there. I lived in an apartment by my first 1-bedroom apartment because there was literally no other option. Yeah. Because it was such a scramble. Yeah. But it turned out to be like the greatest thing that I don't want to say ever happened to me, but it was an amazing educational experience. I'm still close with all of those professors. Fantastic. They were just here a couple weeks ago, and we always do like a VO thing with the kids, and I was talking on a little panel. It's my favorite time of year is to talk to little senior Missouri Staters. Man. And try to like, because I'm always the person in there that's like, okay, so who has hobbies and who's in therapy? Like, people were like, so like, how did you get to working with DreamWorks? I'm like, shh. Yeah. Do you have a therapist you trust? Like that's my. So I always feel like I have to be in there so that someone on that panel is doing that.
Someone has to talk about self-care because no one is talking about self-care. It's all about how do I get an agent and how do I get my reel and how do I do this other stuff.
And I'm happy to help you with that stuff.
Yeah.
But set that aside. How are you doing?
Try to do a cross-country trip with 3 flat tires and a bad alternator.
Yeah.
Because
is that what you did from Grand Rapids?
No.
Oh.
That's the equivalent. That's a metaphor.
For the equivalent. I thought that was pulling from real life.
Take that. No. But no, it was. I often speak in metaphor. But that's
I know
that's
that
the idea.
about. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like that. Like if you're not taking care of your instrument, how on earth can you possibly?
You're limping through a marathon.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that's a better marathon and more consistent. It's tighter.
Yeah.
Better marathon. It's
a better metaphor.
Better metaphor. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Somebody do some brain drills on you. We gotta.
I know. I desperately need brain drills. Desperately.
So the point to this question was that my family, my mother was born and raised in Tennessee. Okay. My dad was an Army brat. Okay. I've been going home to Tennessee, home in quotation marks, since I was 15.
Gotcha.
To my parents' best friend from college, who's like an aunt to me. Yeah. To her home. Yeah. 'Cause she lives on the Tennessee River. So I've been like a lake girl since I was 15. Yeah. But I was late to the party. You know, most start when they're 2. Sure. I was like late to the party, and then my parents finally bought the house next door to their college best friend. Oh, wow. They all went to Tennessee Tech.
Amazing.
And then and my parents finally fully like built their home they're retired in. Beautiful. So I go home. I've been going home to Tennessee for many years, but I never actually grew up there. Yeah. But it's like in my blood, so it's weird.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, as great as it was, I came to Tennessee very, very, not very late in life. It was my first job out of college, really. But I worked on a TV series. That was where I met Tess Harper. I was working on a show.
Who went to Missouri State?
Really? I didn't know that.
She's an alum. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, she was so cool. And I knew her work from Tender Mercies and stuff. Yeah. And then she was just hilarious and so much fun. One of my, it was like
amazing.
The first celebrity I hung out with.
Yeah.
I had a voicemail. It was like, Kiff, it's Tess. We're going up to,
adorable.
What was it? It was the big Sam's Club. It was going up to Knoxville to Sam's Club to go buy a bunch of shit.
Yeah, yes. Because Sam's Club is it.
Sam's Club's it.
Sam's Club is it. We don't talk about Costco. No, actually, I think my parents have both memberships. Classic.
But we went to go see Wolf at the movie theater. Me and Tess and my ex-wife and someone else in the cast. And Tess kept getting up and walking out of the movie and having a cigarette.
Hilarious.
And then 20 minutes later would wander back in, watch about 5 minutes, go, this is horse shit, get up and walk back out.
Fantastic.
I loved her.
Yeah.
I loved her. She's the best.
Where in Tennessee were you working?
We were working in a little town called Townsend.
Okay.
So it's right outside of Cades Cove in the Smoky Mountains. So if you take 321 down from Maryville.
Okay. Closer to Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the other side of the mount, on the other side of whatever the pass is.
Yeah. That famous one that people motorcycle down.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But anyway,
okay.
That was my exposure.
Tennessee.
But that was my immersion, and then I lived in Merville for about 3 years until we started moving north again. But just
I know Merville. Yeah.
I worked at the Foothills Mall, worked at the Camelot Music. Blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Selling laser discs.
No big deal.
But, cool. So you go through college, you get done with, you get your BFA from Missouri State.
Yeah, useless. I'm sorry.
Talk about that.
Loved it. Again, I have nothing but good things to say about Missouri State. Don't remember a goddamn thing. People are often like, so Meisner, and I'm like, sure, I remember sitting in the chair and doing the one word back and forth, but in acting 1. Yeah. And then you went through 2, 3, 4. 4 was nothing but Chekhov. Don't remember any of that. I don't have a great memory. I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's a me thing, but I also feel like being 18 to 22 and absorbing the philosophy of life through the idea that then you learn how to make meaning out of that as a normal, it's such a complicated thing that I don't know that my 20-year-old self, as wise as I was, and I say that not even sarcastically, actors are smart people.
Yes.
So it makes sense that you're drawn to the meaning of life work.
Yeah.
I was still 20. I was still Republican.
Me too.
So I hadn't learned yet.
Yeah.
So oopsies. So I say useless just because I don't know that there's anything I actively pull from that degree.
Yeah, I understand
that I
what you mean.
Currently apply to my life.
It was like an education in the classics.
Yes.
Same. I mean, I can understand the text of Shakespeare should it come to me and that kind of stuff. But I knew my trajectory had maybe something to do with some of the classics.
Sure.
And I can appreciate it, but that's not what ignited either
the fire. Yeah.
And I know that you gotta eat your vegetables,
blah,
you know what I mean? But I sometimes feel like it's so precious that it doesn't.
Yes.
It's just hard to. It just feels hard to mitigate sometimes if it's not your.
Yes, and then we beat ourselves up because real actors are supposed to love the Shakespeare work. So everything you're saying about mitigate, it. I like it for the poetic purposes. I love making meaning out of things. Yeah. I like poetry, but I like poetry in 6 lines, and I like to have that experience and then move on.
Yeah.
And I wanted so badly to be good at Shakespeare because all the people I revere are good at, they do Hamlet on their off movie time. Benedict Cumberbatch is, right? All of the Brit greats in particular.
Right.
And I think the way that's oriented into their lives, even when they're young, is different than it is over here. Yeah. But then, even now, sometimes I try not to. I know better than to beat myself up, right? But that doesn't mean that there's not things that happen or come up when I'm like, oh, that person gets that on a level I don't.
Yes.
Right?
Dude, I completely relate to that. That feeling of, in the program I was at, I felt less than because I got more out of watching a movie than going to see stage work.
Yes.
More out of Die Hard than I got out of Strindberg.
Yes.
And it's not a judgment on Strindberg. It was just a matter of taste.
Yeah.
And I could still appreciate it, but I wasn't sitting around in a black turtleneck with a beret.
No, expounding on the meaning of life.
Right. I was more interested to get into some improv and jack around and do it.
Yes.
And make it ours.
Yes. I and it's funny because I'm also that way about movies. You'll talk to me and you'll list 8 movies and I'll be like, not seen a one.
But that's fine.
But it's okay. But it makes me sometimes feel like I'm off the mark. I'm not as focused or almost I don't belong here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not into. But what I'm into is living my life, and I've been that way forever.
Yeah.
Even in my fantasy world as a child when I played house, I wanted to go build a fort in the woods dressed as Pocahontas. I didn't want to do anything that was even structured. My friends would be like, okay, so you're the mom and this is what we're gonna do today. And I'm like, no, we gotta get the water to the camp and then we just move on from there. Like, we're just up to stuff. There's no like, so like, my thing I would do was go find stuff to do.
Yeah.
And I still do that. As my number one advice to those little Missouri State seniors is find a hobby. And constantly find a different hobby.
Yeah.
Like, just keep playing, because it's play.
It's play.
And when we're in the words and we're like, oh, it's poetic. I'm like, are you playing though? And that's not being, you know what, humans don't do that. Humans go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
So then when I have a scene where I'm a human doing stuff, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's the part that I have fun doing. And there's always been that interesting, like, I have fun doing the thing that's not treated as like the Oscar-worthy thing.
Yes.
Right? And therefore, do I carry the weight of an artist in the industry? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm having a good time. So, I don't remember the original question.
No, I don't either. I love that. I love that. And it so rings true. And like, I can feel just that. And I can't pinpoint the moment exactly where that moment drifted me off from play into something else. Into, you know what I mean? Like, like movies have always been my play. I'm extremely passionate about films.
Yes.
And by the way, if I've ever shamed you for not seeing a movie.
You've never shamed me, but I've repeatedly asked you for a list.
All right. That's right. Because I gave you a list, and I just wanted to make certain that because I apologize if I ever made you feel less.
You've never made me feel shamed. I've just always gone, nope.
I need to
when you reference something.
And that's fine. That's fine. I mean, I can't. If someone talked to several people who are like, I've never seen Star Wars or whatever, and it's like, it's not that I don't want to. It just never came to me.
Yeah.
Well, there's no judgment on that.
Star Wars didn't come to me till I was 26, and I was babysitting for, shout out Ryan Gall, who I adore, fantastic actor and great kids, great wife. And he came home one night, and they had bought it on Amazon Prime because it wasn't, Disney didn't exist yet. Like, and I was watching it and had to stop because they came home, and he was like, "Are you watching this for the first time?" Because they've been trying to get me to forever. And I was like, "Yeah, I decided to do it." Because my family wasn't a huge fan. Yeah. And he was like, "Okay, take the password. Take the password." And they gave me the logins so that I could leave and go home and finish watching them. And I shared their Amazon Prime for many years.
Amazing.
I have my own now, in case he's listening.
Rayon's great.
He's so great.
I've had to improvise with him a couple times.
Yeah.
Really enjoy him.
He's so great.
Yeah. I mean, but like, there's that moment of drifting away from the spirit that you're talking about into some place of, I don't know. I don't remember if it was because institutions in particular get really like, well, this is the way we do it.
Yes.
And I mean, when I was teaching at Second City, that was a big part of it. Of like, I would often in my first level classes would say to people, like, if you're here because your agent sent you here to get better in your commercial auditions, take 1, 2, and 3 and get out. Because that's what this place will give you great improv training. Yeah. But if you really invest into the company and the company's philosophy, it can do great things for you, but it can also really mess you up.
Yeah.
And you have to, just like any other. We just watched Fallout on Amazon Prime, and there's this kind of a discussion about the nature of institutions being cults.
Oh, sure.
Regardless of the way they are, because there's a way of doing things.
Yes.
And it can really put guidelines or guardrails up for your experimentation and creativity.
Yes, it's funny you say that. That I am queen of, I'm very sensitive to any sort of culty vibe. Doesn't mean I won't join. But,
sure.
But you won't indoctrinate me.
Right.
Like, it's funny because I sometimes ask myself if it's my ego fighting, like not letting something in, or if I'm going, no, you're pushing me a little too hard in this lane. And I'm open to exploring in that lane. I want to play in that lane.
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Exactly. But then when it starts to be like when the other ways start to get subtly trashed or like made fun of, even in kind ways, I'm like,
words matter.
Words matter. Interesting.
Did you have an experience that led you into that? Or was it just sort of in your programming where you've always just kind of been like,
I think I've been, it's funny, someone recently, twice this year, once in my passion planner, like my yearly planner I opened, it was like, what are your 3 core values? And I was like, core values? I don't fucking know. What do you mean core value? What does that mean? And I like literally didn't know how to answer the question.
Yeah.
And then it came up again in some of the neuro work, and we were talking about just in terms of like when something starts to feel off, when whether it's in your body, whether it's in your psyche, whatever, if you're just like having an irritating week, like what's off? Yeah. And I get easily overwhelmed with choices, decision making. That's why I love things where all the choices are available.
Yes.
I chose acting because I didn't have to choose a career.
Huh.
That's literally why I chose it. I get to be all the jobs. I get to be all the ages. I get to be all the lifetimes. I get to time travel. That is why.
At what point did you make that decision?
I actually made the decision at 17. But I was a singer first. Really? And when you're a singer, and a singer is relative. Like, people were saying I could sing, so I just started singing.
Yeah.
And when you're a singer, you just do theater. Like, it's where you go.
Yeah.
You're in choir, so you do the musicals, you know? Like, yep. And I just kept getting tipped further and further. And because I had no support on singing in high school, I actually kept getting pushed into straight acting because I was actually being told my singing was not going to make it. So I had, like, this really interesting accidental tilt. About every 4 months, I revisit whether I actually like acting or not. And my answer is often, I don't know, by the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because I ended up choosing it because I got pushed there. And of course, the performance aspect. I'm funny, I'm quick, I have that stuff.
Yeah.
And that does well. And of course, as a child, I was rewarded emotionally for every time that did well. So of course, you do things you're good at.
Yeah.
But I often ask myself if you should do things just because you're good at them. And it's like just a conversation. I'm never like mad at myself about it. It's just a conversation I constantly have in my soul about that kind of thing.
I relate to that too. You're good at certain things doesn't necessarily mean that you should do them.
Yep.
Does it give you joy?
Yes.
Because I could be really, really good at installing sprinkler systems too.
Yes.
But just because you're trained in a thing doesn't necessarily mean that that's your path.
Yes.
It needs to speak to
you.
Yeah.
And at what point is and then I constantly have a conversation if I'm like not having fun. I say, why aren't I having fun? And is it anxiety and fears in my way that's not letting the fun in? Because the threat is higher than whatever the reward of joy is.
Yeah.
Or are you actually not having fun and you have anxiety because you don't really like it? Like, that's also a conversation. Because sometimes I don't like stuff because I'm scared. And then sometimes I don't like stuff because I just don't like stuff. But it's a fine line.
Yeah.
For an anxious person. It's a fine line.
Yes.
So I didn't have an experience. Wait, this was the question, right?
I don't remember the question.
Son of a bitch.
Sorry, where are you going?
This is my quiz.
Go where you're going. Trust where you're going. Totally trust it.
So constantly asking myself the questions. And I'm queen of this. My best friend always says, my favorite thing you say is, anyway, the point to this was, because I have a habit of like circumventing all the way around, never quite making it back. Like I make a 3/4 circle, and then I have to like cut straight across back to the complete point. That I didn't have an experience, but when people try really hard to make me make a choice, because choices stress me out, it's big alarm bells in my head. And I unconsciously knew that, I think, when they started to do that to me in high school. They were trying to make me do something else.
Yeah.
And you asked me when I knew, 17, and then I chose to do it. Like, this was the choice.
Yeah.
And then it took a while to figure out why that was the choice. And it was like, of course, performing gave me emotional rewards. And then it was, originally when I went to the new school and I didn't get into any BFA programs, I was like, I wanted to do philosophy. I wanted to do journalism. I wanted to do anything political. I was and a Republican. So I was like very in the, like, I want to do something smart.
Yeah.
I want to do something meaningful. And then I did it though, right? And then was walking by these marquees and was like, oh, this isn't the choice.
Yeah.
And so I always say, like, I actually tried to do something else and couldn't. And came back to it. And I was like in dance classes and up to stuff, but like the fun stuff. And then I came back to refocusing on it as a career choice. But the way other people feel about it, I don't know that I feel about it.
Huh.
The same way the Shakespearean people feel.
Yeah.
I think I really don't want to be on my deathbed and not have done anything. And I don't mean a resume.
Yes.
I mean just lived, visited places, tried something I've always wanted to try. So I know you know this about me, but that's why I leave town all the time. I constantly leave town.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there are people who work really hard who are like, how do you do, like, man, Ally's out of town again? I'm like, yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I want to go to places.
Yeah. Who are you in service of?
Yes.
Who are you in service of?
Yes.
And that is something that, you answer it on every panel about, like, what does it take to be a voice actor?
Yeah.
What does it take to work in this field?
Yes.
And, the answer is so often, well, you have to maintain your, I've said it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You have to maintain your availability.
Yes.
I keep coming back to Sean Connery and Elliot Ness and Kevin Costner in The Untouchables. There's a scene. I'm assuming you haven't seen the movie.
I haven't. Good call.
That's all right.
Wait, but I think is this on your list you gave me?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's written by...
But I knew it was on the list.
But you knew it was on the list.
Okay.
And it's a violent, bloody movie, and it's about 1920s Prohibition in Chicago.
Okay.
And Elliot Ness is Kevin Costner. And he's been commissioned by the federal government to take down Al Capone and his bootlegging operation in Chicago.
Yeah.
He comes to town, tries to do it, makes a mess because he's doing things the way you're supposed to do it. Sean Connery is a world-weary Chicago cop who's seen it all and now he's walking the beat, which is a shitty job for a guy who's been in the service for a really long time.
Okay. Yeah.
He meets Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner says, I'm trying to do something different here. And Connery says, if you really want to take down Al Capone, meet me in this church and let's have a conversation because everyone's listening.
Yeah.
So they're sitting in this pew. It's an iconic scene.
Okay.
So Sean Connery says to Kevin Costner, so you want to get Capone, huh? What are you prepared to do it? He says, I'm prepared to do everything within the course of the law. And then he says, and then what are you prepared to do? Because these guys are not going to stop halfway. He pulls a knife, you pull a gun.
Yeah.
He puts one of your men in the hospital, you put one of his in the morgue. That's the Chicago way, and that's how you get Capone. Okay, so, all right?
Okay.
I mean,
I got goosebumps too. I did too, just
that's
from your reenactment.
That's how good that movie is.
Okay.
And that's a reenactment in a booth in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that, I tell you all of that to give you the context of that idea of so many actors, and I've said this too, what are you prepared to do?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? What is your core value? But as you said, your core value is like, I want to experience the world.
Yes.
And if this is part of that, great. This is all part of it.
Yes.
But I also need to live.
Yes, I need to live. That's so funny. I already forgot about the core value thing. Someone sent me a worksheet and it just had a list, and it's just like about emotionally connecting to what it is. And on the list actually were things like, yes, family, some people have faith. Like when you hear core value, you think of like those things, which not in an intention to offend anyone, but I find kind of basic.
Yeah.
Like I've always been looking for something bigger.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I'm an actor. I'm looking for something more. And originality was on the list.
And
adventure was on the list.
Yeah.
And those two hit me. Like people invite me to do stuff, I say yes. A stranger invites me to their home in Strasbourg, France. Yeah, I'm going. Some dude I just met is like, do you want to come skiing with me this weekend? I'm like, let me airdrop my location to all my friends, but yes. Like, have you ever skied before? Nope. Like, I want to just adventure.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's something about, and the originality thing goes with my cult. I'm so proud of myself. I got there. Like, if it doesn't feel original, if it feels like you're trying to conform me into anything, like something about my core value is I want to be, sometimes my therapist calls it terminal uniqueness. Because in a way, it keeps me isolated sometimes.
Interesting.
But I'm aware of that. Nobody worry. We're working on it. But it keeps me isolated because it's so important to me to be, to operate with originality.
Yeah.
and then adventure. So go back to what you keep talking.
Well, so then Kevin Costner decides. Okay. No.
And then
you're just going to have to watch the rest of the movie to see what happens. But they get Capone.
Yes.
So by doing it to Chicago.
Yeah.
But like
your valued way.
Well, yeah, I think what I appreciate about everything that you're sharing and your openness of, on what your core values are, why they're so important.
Yeah.
Like, how did that lead you from BFA?
Yeah.
Out here to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
What's that journey?
That I showcased out here. That's right. That's what you asked me earlier.
Showcased?
So my BFA program does showcases in New York and in LA.
Oh, great.
And I was a musical theater kid.
Okay.
And my acting teachers, who are amazing, kind of about a year and a half before like my junior year, started to like nudge me that they wanted me to showcase in LA. And
LA over New York?
You could do both.
Okay.
You had the option. If you were an actor who also sang,
because
you could audition for all the shows, whatever. We had some acting majors who just like didn't like the musical theater program, so they were acting majors, right?
Gotcha.
Like that or whatever.
Yeah.
And we all took the same acting classes. The only differences were like actors took directing 1 and 2, and we had to take like music theory, piano, and whatever.
Gotcha.
At one point, it was said that we have as many credit requirements as like the literal rocket engineers do.
Oh my gosh.
Because musical theater's dance, music, and acting.
Yeah.
So we like literally had more credit.
You got to be a triple threat.
You got to be a triple threat. And I'm not. I always say I'm a jack of all trades, mediocre at some. That's my like line. Mm-hmm. I can do it all pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like don't cast me to be the dancer, but I can dance, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we showcased in, they got me, and I showcased in both places. And in New York, typical to my singing trajectory, I just got nothing. And I sing the way I talk, and it's very particular.
So, I'm sorry, just want to pause right there.
Yes.
So when you're showcasing in Los Angeles, like I get it in New York, is it for grad schools or is it for this is for casting directors?
We sent every person had to send out 100 mailings.
Holy mackerel.
And that was dumb because we're all the only agents we know of at the time Hunger Games was out, like CAA for Jennifer Lawrence. Like we're just looking up the stars we like, and they're all with UTA and CAA and William Morris.
Exactly.
When that was, so it's funny because like you're just trying to figure out literally any agency to send to, and we'd all share with each other. So they got double mailings, right?
Yeah.
But
as long as they came, that was the thing.
Yes, and people came.
Yeah.
UTA didn't, but people came. KMR came. They're popular in the media right now.
Yes, they are.
But back 10 years ago, KMR came to the LA showcase, and I got an email the next morning after I did my scene. We all did scenes from plays, and there were about 12 or 14 of us, I think. And I got an email the next morning that said meeting, all lowercase in the subject line. Can you come in tomorrow at noon? I'd like to, rep meeting. I went in and I met with Mark Measures, who I still have I don't know what's happening now, but was always so good to me. And they signed me. And so I literally went back. That was in April. I literally hadn't graduated yet.
Wow.
And I went back to school, and I got from my living room in Springfield, Missouri, did tapes for The Duff, the originals. They sent such great stuff, and I was like, it felt unreal.
Yes.
I was like, it's not that I don't deserve it, but there's nothing special about me that's, whatever. I was like, okay.
All of a sudden, here's an opportunity to be on shows that you're
I'm like, I watch these, and then I think on some level I was also still 22. I was out of my element. I don't know that the tapes were good. At one point I got an email that was like, can you redo this one? I think you can do better, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I went and did my Hershey Park contract. And then I literally packed, I drove from there. I spent, a week in the city with my friends. Drove through Tennessee, stopped in Tennessee, stayed with my pseudo aunt, finished, drove to Kansas City, flew to Chicago to visit my sister, who lives in Chicago, flew home, packed a U-Haul with my father, towed my car, and we drove out. And then I've been here ever since, and that was in October of 2014, so this October is my 10-year. I know! Yee! Wow. And I got here and had one co-star audition with Kmart and never got another film or television audition after getting all of those while I didn't live here.
Oh my gosh.
They still repped me for stage, so they sent me out for stage stuff, but I never booked anything.
Did they drop you for theatrical on camera, or they just didn't send you stuff?
I don't mind saying this publicly.
Okay.
I actually once took a workshop from the film guy at Kmart, who I was really close with Mark.
Yeah.
Not with like the actual film, so the president, not with everyone else.
Yes.
And the stage agent and I started to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And I literally showed up and I had the Kmart logo on my resume. And I did a monologue and he gave notes and he didn't say a damn word to me. And so I was like, okay, that's weird. And then after I was with them for about 2.5 years, I wanted to know if I wanted to go back to New York. This is my trajectory. I got here and I tried to live my life. Yeah. Like I of course did stuff, but I was like, I've always been a get my feet under me and make sure I'm having a good time. I had a brilliant teacher in college that advised me to always have something better to do after an audition.
Yeah.
And I really took that and almost ran my life with it.
Wow.
I make sure my days are filled with stuff I love, not things that the industry expects me to do or expects me to love.
So out here.
Yeah.
What's your post audition things that you love that you do that make you love living here?
I hate living here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
No. I am going to give my first example I'm going to give is like back when, we don't go in a lot anymore. But back when I had to go somewhere, I would try really hard to clear my day if I didn't have to be at whatever my day job was, which I've had a million.
Yeah.
I would try hard to clear my day, and especially when I had to go to like Ocean Park, I would then take myself to breakfast in Santa Monica, and then I would go to the beach.
Yep.
And I don't love the beach, so I wouldn't like go. I don't like a beach day, but I would go on a walk. I like a walk with my feet in the water.
Yes.
And I actually often listen to like cello. I like strings.
Oh, wow.
I like things that make me feel ethereal, like in a way. And so I often listen to the Avengers Infinity War soundtrack. Thank you so much, because that score's amazing.
I will revisit it.
It's really good.
I'm a massive soundtrack score fan, so I will revisit Infinity War.
I love the weight scores carry. They carry a lot more weight than like when I just go see a Philharmonic. I know that sounds unfair. But they're literally driving a story.
Yes.
And it's not that other classical composers aren't, but there's something different about it, especially if I've seen the visual.
Yes.
It just carries so much weight for me.
Oh, there's so much emotion. Like for me, Hans Zimmer's scores for like Interstellar and Dune in particular.
Okay, so I haven't seen any of the Dunes yet. I will.
Okay.
But because I love that kind of shit. But it's like everyone. Again, I'm original. I don't like to do what everybody else is doing. I'll get to it.
I get it.
Hans Zimmer did. Don't judge me for this. Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons.
Yes, he did.
And in high school, I had those soundtracks like illegally downloaded from LimeWire. On my what was that thing called? The Zune?
Yeah, the Zune.
The Zune. On my Zune?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm going to send you, because I have, Lauren Balfe did the score with Hans Zimmer, but he was one of those guys who like came up in the Zimmer sort of farm.
Yeah.
He did the score to Scarlett Johansson's Ghost in the Shell. It's a breathtaking score. And he did it with Clint Mansell, actually, who did like The Fountain and Requiem for a Dream.
Oh,
and Black Swan.
Requiem for a Dream. Okay. Heavy,
beautiful
love.
Music.
Yes.
But Lauren's score for Ghost in the Shell, I'll send it to you, because they never released the soundtrack. They never released the score, so he did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
okay,
so
please.
I keep running across the zip, but I'll email it to you.
Okay, I love it. I love it. It's the kind I like to do that on long drives and on a lot of beach walks, a lot of hikes. I like to put like meditative.
Yes.
Versus, I'm a singer. If there's lyrics in a song, I'm in the song.
Like
I can't. If a song, when I work at a bar and a song comes on over the sound system, I'm screwed if someone's mid order. I won't literally do it out loud, but my brain immediately splits, and I'm like, oh no, she asked for something off that burger, and I don't remember what it was. Shit. Like, because I'm like, I don't know. Britney Spears is going in the corner. Hey, me, baby. You wanted ketchup on the side? I don't. So I often, like, locale determines a lot of my stuff.
So if you're over on the east side, you're going to go up into the mountains.
Yes,
maybe,
I'll
or
go
to
up
the
to
Huntington Library.
Or I love to take myself out for a fancy coffee. I take myself with a book to a fancy coffee. Like, that seems, that I took, not time, actually. I don't even want to say age. It took reading The Artist's Way. I did The Artist's Way. Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. Yeah. And I've done it multiple times now. And that got me really into the taking myself on dates thing. And so I often, and if I can't do it, like day of, and it's not even like okay, I have an audition this week, I have to plan something else. It's not even a plan anymore. It just I just now fill my weeks with things I'd rather be doing. And oftentimes that includes table reads with friends. Yeah. That includes things like this. Yeah. You and I are talkers. Yeah. Talking to people is my joy. Traveling alone is my joy because I just talk to everyone. I just meet so many people when I don't have a group I'm glommed with. Yep, I'm with you. I love it. I can handle going to parties by myself just because I just know I'm going to I'm just going to talk to people. I'm going to make small talk and have a great time. Yes. And if I'm not having a great time, I will leave. I'll leave. And that's fine. Yeah. And I'll probably go do something I'd rather be doing, like read a book at a bar. That's it. So I often take myself to Santa Barbara on day trips. Yeah, I like to drive out of LA because I don't love the city. I hate being hot, which is so funny that I chose to live here, but I really hate it. And I love the rainy days. Everybody else gets so tired of them, and I'm like, again? I know. This year must be like lovely. I mean, lovely. Although 2 days ago, when it was the second day of rain, and I was like, wait, I'd gone grocery shopping and I'd bought food based on, because when I'm hot, I want certain foods. Yes. And I bought food based on the weather. And then it was raining and I was like, but I don't have any warm foods. I don't have any warm foods. So I was like, all right, we're done with this. Thank you. My grocery budget can't take it. So I just like try to find, and then my thing is hobbies. Like I have always felt, this is my terminal uniqueness, I don't have like an insane list of movies I've seen. Yeah. I don't have a crazy knowledge of musicians and who wrote for them and what they love in categories. And you and I have talked about that too. Yeah. Like I somehow do this, like, mediocre is not the nice word for it, but I do this thing where I skate over so many things and I like them all, but I don't ever dedicate I don't have the interest. Yep. It's not that I'm not interested when I learn. It's the same reason I don't watch documentaries. Someone can give me the 10-minute truncated version later. Cool. I'm not interested in the fall of Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah. But I don't need to watch 2 hours. I actually did watch that one. That's why. Did you really? See, that's one I would pass right over. I'd be like, I didn't know that it fell. All the people my age were talking about it. Oh, and I was like, okay, fine. Yeah. Like, I did it. And I was like, I'll learn about that. Like, yeah, I've shopped there, so sure. See, it's crazy. Like, once you become a parent, then you miss out on so many of those things. Yeah. But you get really granular in other things that you would never have any interest in. Yeah, that's interesting. You know, so you get kind of, Sherry says her mom would say all the time, like the best part about being a parent is your kids take you on adventures that you didn't expect. Mm-hmm. You know, I never would have, I mean, I would not have spent this weekend watching Fallout on Amazon if it wasn't for our daughter. Sure. And after 15 minutes in, I was 100% in. But I would have just rolled right past it and robbed myself of a brilliant performance by Walton Goggins. Yeah. So absolutely. You know. Yes, I love the amount of movies I haven't seen that I will text friends and be like, I know I should have seen this. I don't want to watch it by myself. Yeah. I don't want to sit down and watch The Godfather by myself. Yeah. I want to watch it with people who are going to be watching me like this. Well, yes. I need the outer it's almost like, it's actually very ADHD. Like, I need the accountability to do it. I often start movies and then, like, it's so funny because I'm an early bedtimer too. So I'll start a movie when I'm like, I'm in the mood to try something I haven't seen. Yeah. Which is also also an anxiety ADHD thing, right? Like, I just rewatch Friends a lot. Like, I'm one of those. So, like, but that being said, I don't watch interviews of Friends. So, like, I have trivia about the show locked. But if you ask me about the behind the scenes, I don't. And the people? And I don't care. I don't care what they're up to otherwise. These are my characters. These are so I'll, like, get halfway through a movie. I'll get, like, I love how amused you are by me. You guys can't see Kiff's face right now, but it's like borderline an eye roll.
No, not at all. Not at all. I understand. It just happens to be my particular otaku.
I know.
It's movies. So like when you were like, oh, I want to watch Godfather with friends, I'm like, well, what are you doing tonight? Because we have it on 4K and I'm ready to watch it. And I will say, The Godfather's not my favorite film. It's on people's top 10s. It's not in the top 10 for me. But I will say that movie, every time you watch it, reveals something new.
Sure.
And that's the thing that I appreciate so much about film.
Yes. And you know what's funny? I just kind of like Shakespeare, I feel like I miss stuff. Like I watched Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and I was like, okay, with friends. And I was like, I can appreciate this movie. As a woman, all I see is like dumb boys doing dumb boy stuff.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time. And then I feel like the Shakespeare feeling where I'm like, people are like, well, what? But this is why I need people who love it. Because then someone will be like, okay, so something you don't know is the DP when they were shooting this scene. Blah, right? And then all of a sudden, it's so much more interesting.
Then it's a revelation.
But if I'm just watching these guys rob stuff and no women be allowed to talk in this movie, I don't care.
This is the only, and I have not seen Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid all the way
through. I have one on you!
You got one on me.
Okay.
But I narrated the audiobook written by the guy who wrote that film.
Damn, that's
and
cool.
It's a great book.
That's
I'm very,
cool.
very proud of it. But he talks in depth about that movie and why he wanted to make it. And he loves the story of Butch Cassidy, and it's such an unusual story because he ran away. And Western heroes didn't run away.
Okay.
The fact that they go to Bolivia and they get to, he says what he loved about that, and also another movie he did with the same director, George Roy Hill, and with Robert Redford, called The Great Waldo Pepper. Okay. He said what I love about those stories is that it's about these people who get the opportunity to have a do-over. Like they get to relive something of their life and get to do that again by going on an adventure.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so that was at the heart of that film.
Yeah.
And there's aspects of it that are like, oh, this movie's legendary, you need to see it. And then you see it and you're like, was this because of the try to take a movie from 1967 and remove it from its socio-political impact?
Yes.
Like Planet of the Apes or the original, like with Charlton Heston, or freaking like The Godfather, certainly, or Jaws.
Yeah.
Like taking those films out of the context in which they were made.
Yes, of what they were in the time, which I can totally appreciate, but I wasn't alive in that time.
Right.
So I need someone else, because guess what I'm not going to do? Watch a documentary about it. So I just need someone else when we're watching.
Right.
I will say I learned something from a friend of mine, Fred Applegate, who's a brilliant actor, retired now, resume miles long, Broadway, all the things. He like would do this little group where we'd read plays, and he would kind of like guide us through. And we did The Maids, we did some Chekhov, and at one point we were talking about in Three Sisters. I'm like, ugh, can they stop being like, oh, are we going to talk about, like, they all are just whiny. They're whining. I'm tired of people whining in this. I don't love Chekhov because it's just people whining.
Yeah.
And then repeating themselves. Or like the same things, almost like broken records. And I get that was the point. I get it. But it's not my style.
Yeah.
It's just like blasphemy. Dumb comedy is not my style.
Okay.
It's always funny in Philadelphia. I can appreciate all those comedians.
Yes.
But I will never. I've watched 2 episodes of that show, and I've never been more bored. Yep. Like I can't.
Yep.
But I appreciate it. There's no hate on them. It's just not mine.
Yeah.
And he said to me, well, at the time, this specific Russian Tsar was in control. This specific socioeconomic thing was happening. And when somebody says, oh, are we going to talk philosophy, that's actually illegal at that time.
Wow.
But none of that is written in the words. Like, we don't know that. And so we were talking about it, and I was like, okay, as we're 4 people reading a play together. Yeah. And we're reading this play, and how could we know without you telling us? And I was like, and then in performance, how do we know? Yeah. Like, I've seen the play. It's boring. And he goes, well, a good director would have someone do something like get up and close all the windows the second the conversation starts. And my mind blew wide. I was like, oh, so like keep it a secret. The second the words everyone looks, someone gets up and quietly closes all the doors and windows, and then you sit back down, and now philosophy is talked about.
Yes.
Because we know now that we're committing a crime. The audience can't know that if there's no one that knows why the story was made and the time period and the blah, blah, blah. And this is why I don't want to watch movies about myself.
And that's the problem with the reverence over things where no one knows why there should be reverence for it.
Yes.
When you watch a movie like Casablanca.
Yes.
And take in the stakes
yes.
of it. And it's not just about play it for me for old time's sake.
Yeah.
It's not just about the romance and
right.
Humphrey Bogart is so cool. It's about the emotion, the political stakes
yes,
involved.
Absolutely.
And about the freedom, the free world and
yes.
and the resistance to participate in a war.
Yes. Yes.
Like it's about all
yes.
those things.
Yes.
And we learn it when we're ready to. I mean, I remember
totally.
I taught a summer class of like film production in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
And like I was ill prepared for it. I knew how to teach a few things, but I made the kids watch Lawrence of Arabia on VHS. And like I didn't appreciate it, but
yeah.
I made him watch it because it was like it's David Lean and Peter O'Toole
yeah.
and Alec Guinness and Omar Sharif.
Yeah.
But it was not the reason but one of the kids like fell asleep and he got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
I feel so horrible about it now after going to see it in 70 millimeter at the Arrow and being transported by this movie.
Yeah.
In a way that I could never have,
yeah.
in the way that I expected all of us to somehow cathartically experience it
right.
because it's a classic.
Right.
Like.
Right. And you know what's funny? I feel like I'm entering that time, like, of what classic is. Like, I'm officially being made fun of by Gen Z for being too old, you know?
yeah.
And so, like, my classic of, like, groundbreaking for me that I think people take for granted is The Mummy.
Really?
Yes, 1999, The Mummy.
Yeah. Brendan Fraser.
That was like the first move of a lot of that CGI.
Yep.
That director when
Stephen
they were
Sommers, right?
when they were hearing film pitches, it was originally just an action movie until someone pitched a script and was like, it's a romance. Even because of course it's an adaptation from the original, but for me, like think about like every time there's an adaptation of something and it's groundbreaking, like. That movie is only just now crossing over into people being like, oh, it's a classic now. Because it's more than 25 years old now.
Yeah.
And
Brendan Fraser's having a moment, so people are bringing it back.
People are talking about it. They did a screening of it at Vidiots, and I went.
Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
Of course I went. It's literally one of my favorite movies.
Was AJ there? Did he go?
AJ was not there.
AJ was not there?
No, and I told him about it. For some reason, he was like too busy or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
This is one of our first things AJ and I bonded over is like he posted something from Jenna Craig Design, right? One of her and I was like, oh, you like The Mummy? Like, oh my God.
Well, I don't just like
and then I was like, here's my coffee cup with a picture of them. Like I'm like such a hardcore, and it's like the only movie I own on Amazon Prime. Like wow. Because I don't want to buy movies. So my point to this is like I think that like the CGI, the way the story was told, the CGI holds up for what it was in 1999 when you watch it.
It does, and it's legit scary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people watching it 20 years from now are going to be like, look at that shit ass CGI, and they're not going to understand that for 1999,
groundbreaking.
It was like that kind of thing.
Yep.
So like it's funny because I wasn't around in the 80s or the 70s where I had older friends talking to me about the 1967s, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm entering the time where I have friends now that are older than me. I'm old enough to have older friends.
Yes.
I've always had older friends, but it's different when you're 22.
And that's one of the things about being an extroverted person who loves conversation and loves learning and meeting people is you get exposed to things.
Yes.
And like, I'll tell you, like there was really very, very few people in my life who appreciated older pictures.
Yeah.
Most of the movies that I have become a pretty significant fan of came out of either self-discovery or Sherry introducing me to stuff because she loves old Humphrey Bogart pictures. And then I'll stumble into something like In a Lonely Place or Separate Tables with Burt Lancaster and Rita Hayworth or From Here to Eternity or some of these movies that same kind of thing of like they're just names on they're names on a sheet of movies available for rent.
Yes.
But when you penetrate them, they're they're so vital and all that other stuff. And like what you're saying with the Mummy, like there's so many more things than what you expect on the surface. Yeah. Even with Chekhov, that in the hands of the right people.
Yes. All of a sudden you're like, why? They're just talking about philosophy. Why is everybody now getting weird and whispering?
Right.
And that's because we didn't, and in the hands is the great way to put it.
Yeah.
Because it has to be in there. If you know nothing and you're just reading the play, it's just reading a book. You can't know. Right. So now I need an encyclopedia about the history of Russia.
And you don't read documentaries.
And
well, you don't watch documentaries.
I don't watch documentaries. You
don't read an encyclopedia.
I'm like, I don't read an encyclopedia either, okay? Although we did have them. Someone sold them to my parents at one point, you know? Someone came to the door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Look up Piranha.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
So all right.
Okay.
So this is a show about voiceover.
Yeah,
so how did
sorry.
Do not apologize. This is spectacular.
This is us talking.
Yeah.
That's it. Voices over.
But it leads. But
things.
the beautiful thing about this is that, and what I've always loved about this show and doing it and getting to spend time with friends is like, no matter what the intention is, we're going to talk about aspects of our creative life and how because all that stuff feeds.
I was gonna say it all feeds each other.
Yeah,
it's all a melting pot of who we are.
How did voiceover come into your
that
life?
Same showcase?
Really?
That same showcase. One of our alums, Tyler Rhodes, who now is a video game director.
Okay.
He's a fantastic actor, fantastic director. He held a workshop for the seniors with Bill Holmes, who
first guy I met in L.A.
Really?
Yeah, one of them. I mean, first guy I went to because he was doing a mixer or something at Compost.
Oh, you did tell me this. Margaritas, mojitos, and microphones.
Yeah, exactly. And I went to one of those. I met Bill, and I was like, I'm fresh in town from Chicago. And he was like, my boy.
Yes, because he's Chicago.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I forgot. I remember us talking about this now. I forgot that. Tyler was one of just like that. Found Bill in some way like that.
Yep.
Started working with Bill. And so Bill, Tyler Rhodes, Ike Amati, fantastic mocap actor and all-around actor, and Jeff Jones, who at the time I think was at Vox.
Okay.
Former agent, then moved to AVO. I don't actually know where he is now. If he's still at AVO. Were like the four people in the room, and we did a workshop.
Awesome.
And I left. I did my extroverted thing. Everybody was a little too afraid. I messed up. Like, I wouldn't call what I did good. And Bill would also say that. But I left, and I was in the parking lot or something, and one of my professors came up to me and was like, you need to email Bill Holmes tomorrow. And I was like, okay, why? Like an apology? Like what? Right. You know, what? He was like, well, they're in there talking about you. Okay. Like, oh, even as I do it now, I get quiet. Like, it felt, and I was like, so I sent him an email and said, can I buy you lunch? I wasn't particularly interested in voiceover. I don't play video games. I'm not a hardcore anything voiceover. But because my voice has, in a way, been a hindrance for so long to me.
Because of singing?
Because of singing.
Yeah.
That being said, I also, and I love, my professor who taught me to have something better to do with an audition once also said, in the most loving way, when we were talking about typing, she was like, Ally walks in the room, and I'm like, here's my ingenue. She's my belle. And then she opens her mouth, and I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. And that kind of feedback I got a lot. I look a certain way. I present very ingenue, feminine, and then I start talking. And it doesn't, I think in people's brains it doesn't make sense. And it sort of became my superpower, though. Because once I figured out people were confused by me, the people who figured me out started to write for me. So, like, every short film I've done was something I didn't book from that person, and then I got an email later being like,
guess what, Ally?
I've actually been thinking about you. I've heard your voice while I'm writing this. It's so funny. And, of course, this exists across the board, but I do want to make a little, like, feministy plug. I notice this particularly with women. Like, there's people write women with an expectation in their head. And particularly, and it's not that I show up like super mask, although I have like a kind of bro-y vibe to me. Like, this is an originality thing. I will never show up and do it the way you think this woman is supposed to be. So,
is that a conscious choice for you?
Not
Do you look
always.
at it, or is it just the way you look at a piece and filter it through your instrument?
I think I look at a piece and go. I sometimes, it depends on the piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes I go, I know what they think they're looking for. And that's not going to be me. So I'm going to do my thing instead.
Yes.
And then sometimes I unconsciously, even like, when it's like she's sad. When I'm sad, I look real different than tears. Like, I look very different, I always think about that. Like, what does angry look like? And on women, angry doesn't often look the way it does on men.
No.
But I like to play with what if it did. And sometimes that changes. So my thing is always like, especially if I can tell there's an arc to a scene emotionally, that doesn't mean there's a way this woman is like typically supposed to, okay, she cries here and then she gets this way and I see what's supposed to happen by the end.
Yeah.
But what does that look like? What has that looked like in my life? I use imagination, yes, but I pull a lot of my own stuff because I do have so many experiences where I'm not what's expected that I think I've unconsciously started to look for it when I get words.
Yeah.
And sometimes, which is something I still learn, then when I'm working with like a director I love, now we're looking for being smart or a choice and we're not being authentic. And then sometimes I need somebody else to be like, you're looking to outwit someone. Now pull it back to the right, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. I was doing that. Okay, I'll fix it. And then I just have to drop back into who they are, right? But often who they are is very close to me.
Yeah.
So that's interesting too, because that directly links to me trying. Typically, when that happens, I don't feel safe in a way. Like I'm still trying to prove myself.
Yes.
Which is why I do very well when I'm requested for an audition. When I know someone knows me, no holds barred. Like I have no sense of, okay,
I got to put
here's
on
how this should be, and I need to show them I can do good work.
Yes.
And it's so funny because we all know it doesn't work.
No.
But we still do it every time.
Right. It's that manners thing of like, I'm going to come and you hear stories of actors coming into like J.B. Smoove was just talking about going into his Curb Your Enthusiasm audition. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to come in as the character, not as J.B., even though I know everybody. And I'm going to come in and get right in Larry's face, and they're going to think I'm crazy. Yeah. And it's like, that it's so audacious to me, like that it's terrifying. And maybe that's why I should go about the business of doing that. But then it's also like, I'm risking something that I don't know if I want to risk. Yeah. A relationship with a casting person who's like, I'm going to come in and throw a chair because the character would. Yeah. It's called acting. Yeah. You know?
Yes, totally. I think so much of that, you have to know people and they have to know your heart. Like, I have a big thing. Like, if I make mistakes, and like, if I make a mistake and I apologize to someone, because I'm quick to be like, I didn't see this clearly. I fucked up here. Yeah. I'm so sorry. And if I have to apologize, this happened to me last year. And I apologized and was met with so much anger and honestly inappropriate. Like my mistake was a typical like life. I messed up here. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again. And I was met with cruelty. And I had friends say to me, when people respond to you that way, they don't know your heart. Yeah. And there's no way to get that through to them. So like, I feel safe. I would never throw a chair in an audition because I'm not a psychopath. Yeah. But I feel comfortable taking risks, bigger risks, doing things quote unquote outside the box when I know the people know my heart. Yeah, yeah. Because I would never come in and harm anyone, cause problems, scare anyone. Yeah. I'm not necessarily looking for attention, she says with a sly grin. So voiceover, all this feeds in. Did that work? Took Bill to lunch, abandoned some of my fellow classmates at the beach and took the rental car. Yes. And Bill said to me, "What are you doing? I have 2 auditions." and didn't book those, but like immediately was taken under his wing.
Wow.
And then disappeared, went back to school, did my contract, disappeared for a year, ran into him at the alumni event later, and like a year later, and he was like, "Where the fuck you been?" That's how he talks.
Where the fuck you been?
Where the fuck you been?
Where you
buddy,
been?
buddy? Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Where you been?
We're gonna send him this specific clip.
I have to have him on.
And you should. He would be a delight.
Yeah.
He was like, "Come back," and so I went and took like one class there, and then after that, just stuck around, and I fully credit Bill Holmes for my career. 100,000%.
Wow.
Like he just, I don't, like it's not even like he got me jobs. It was just that I was there and around, and I hung out with them, and I drank tequila with them, and I did book a job like that he threw me an audition for because he knew the casting director, and then a Missouri State, and then KMR fell apart. I went back to New York. I decided not to move back. I apartment swapped with someone, which was awesome, but I came home. Left KMR, needed a new agent. A Missouri State alum, Brent Sexton, who's a brilliant actor, knew one of the agents at Osbrink and had lunch with her and was like, "Will you meet with a friend of mine?" And I had work I'd done because of Bill.
Yeah.
And he made my reel.
Amazing.
And I showed up and they signed me, and that was only in like 2019 or 2018. Oh my God,
really? That recently?
It was it's funny I say it, but pandemic time fucks with my head.
Pandemic time is an object that makes objects.
I'm pretty sure because I went to New York in 2017 and came back, so 2018 or 2019, and I signed with Osbrink.
Wow.
But I was doing like the pay-to-plays.
Yeah.
I was doing the things you do.
Yeah.
So I had like weird little things here and there that looked real. I had like an HP Instant Ink one that was very popular on YouTube and on the things, but I got paid like $400 for something that ran for 10 years probably,
Right.
And then Osbrink didn't take me for animation. They only took me for commercial. And I was like, okay, they were like, "Well, let's test you." Like, blah, blah, blah. Within a month I booked, and I was non-union still. Croods made me union. So I wasn't union.
Did you really join the union on Croods?
Yeah.
Oh
I got a call before our second testing episode from my agent being like, "SAG's not clearing you. You need to call them." And it was because I was a must-join and I didn't know.
Oh, wow. Did you have to come out of pocket straight out the gate, or were you able to... I can cut all this if you don't.
No. I'm a very financially transparent because I think we should be.
Yeah.
Because there seems to be a glamour expected of this industry that is not real.
Yeah.
So I'm super transparent about money, which will be weird if I get more transparent because it'll also be about your money because we got paid the same.
We got paid the same.
Which I loved.
Yeah.
When we were group messaging.
Yes.
I actually got so much comfort being like, okay, no one was elitist in this. Like we all
100%.
got the same.
We all got the same, and we were all waiting and praying for residuals to come if they were ever going to come.
Because none of us understood the
streaming stuff.
I was under the impression they were never coming.
I was too.
I thought they were done.
I was 100% was in the same boat.
Until my agent emailed me and said, "Did you get Croods residual?" Thinking I hadn't paid them.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, "No, should I?" And they were like, "We don't know. Call SAG."
Yeah.
And then when I called SAG, Artemis had already opened that claim.
Yes.
And then I was like, "Cool. Okay, I'll put my name in there."
All right. Yeah.
I did pay straight out of pocket, but I come from, a father who paid my student loans. So I have like a very budgeted. Yeah. Not really anymore, but we have a system where there was always the amount in the bank. Gotcha. If I had to join.
Gotcha.
And I, again, have very supportive parents that I haven't leaned on in a long time. But if I ever got in a bind...
They were there.
I do have a safety net, unlike a lot of people.
Yeah, makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference to know I would never be homeless.
Yes.
That won't happen.
Yeah.
And look, the stress of making my parents homeless if I leaned on them ever too much, because they're both retired and not millionaires,
right.
Right. But they are happy to make sure I'm happy, you know. Yes. My sister's a doctor too. Like we're all fine. So I did. The Osbrink didn't.
How did that audition come to you? Did Osbrink get it to you, or was there another?
Osbrink got it to me. So
were they sending you?
They slowly started to send me animation
stuff. Okay.
And so in 2018, I'm making this year up, but in 2018, almost immediately booked a non-union commercial in the first month because I'm queen of being on a roll.
Yeah.
You get signed, I almost always, if I sign with someone new, I almost always immediately, like the energy frees up for me. So I think they were like, okay, she's doing well. Start to trickle some video games and some animation. See how it goes. Yeah. And I was recording at Bill's studio, so he was directing me.
Jeez.
You know, so it was like
so helpful to have that voice, just giving you confidence, and support and terrific direction.
Yes. And I will be honest, and he knows this. He scares the absolute shit out of me. So sometimes he doesn't get me my best reads because I don't do well with being shamed. And he's a brilliant director, but I'm learning about myself. Like, he knows this is how he directs. So this is no hate on him.
He's direct.
But he is direct. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yep.
You know, and that can work. Particularly in animation, it's not my best. Like, I start to freeze. I start to seize up because now I'm trying to do something right.
Yep.
So I start to lose play.
Yep.
But I was doing well, and then Osbrink was having people come in occasionally. So they had me come in for like a Trolls audition. Yeah. And it was a Trolls audition where I had to sing. Okay. And this is my singing wounds, which are so funny. I didn't tell anyone I sang. Like, if you've seen my Instagram, you know I sing. Yeah. But I don't. I majored in musical theater. I kind of assume people just know it about me. Yeah. But I don't. It's not on my list. Like, when I go in for a meeting, it's not at the top of my list.
Yeah.
So I had to sing something, like a current pop song, and I said, what do you guys think? Should I sing this or this? And they were like, sing that one. It was like whatever Demi Lovato song was popular at the time. And I sang it, and I remember my agent looking at me through the glass, look at, like, the booth director and the assistants, and look back at me and go, okay, so let's make sure we have singing down for Ally. Like, and then, like they were being sarcastic with me because they were so surprised.
Yeah.
And then I remember leaving that day. So they brought me in for this animation audition, leaving that day, and they'd been coming. So I was like, I guess I'm in. I don't know. And then I got a call on my way to my West Side babysitting job from my agent that was so kind. And this is Abby Waters, who's amazing. She's starting their new agency after A3 fell apart. Yeah. But she's on the team starting new stuff. Yeah. She called me and said, I realized, I guess we never officially told you. You're in for animation. Your work has been so good. I am so excited. We're so excited to have you. And I just realized no one ever told you. So I feel like that doesn't happen. Yeah. Nobody calls. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
And I hung up, and I'm a millennial. When people call, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, like, my phone's ringing and it says my agent's name.
It's one of two things. Either you got it or you're in trouble.
Yes,
and
you did something majorly wrong.
I got it.
I will tell you, Abby is the one who got to call me to tell me I booked Croods. And she called me and was like, so it's about Croods. And was like, And I was like, you got it. And I was like, you bitch, I thought you were calling me with bad news. Yeah. And she goes, Ally, in what world would I want to make that phone call? When it's bad news, we email. And ever since then, my mind has been relieved. And she's right. I've actually never gotten in trouble. Like, and now, like, when their names are on my phone, it's still like,
it's good news.
Something's up.
I know.
But like I do know they're calling for a good reason or a logistical reason. Yes. Like, it's never actually, ever since she told me that. Yeah. So then I was auditioning for animation, and I got the Croods audition, and I hadn't seen the movie, and I remember I was babysitting for that West Side job. And she was like in an appointment, and I remember sitting in my car watching it on Netflix on my phone while I was waiting for her to get out of like an appointment. Yeah. And I remember being so moved by the movie.
It's so moving.
It's so moving. I was surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised. I'm an absolute crier at animated movies. Yeah. But every time I'm like, fuck, that was good. Like, that every time.
Both of them.
Yes.
But the first one in particular.
Yes.
And it's interesting because Eep and Grug are very different in that first picture than they are in the second one. I mean, it
absolutely.
But
tumultuous. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Lots of disconnect.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, even Nick is more He's more brutal.
Yes.
More brutal caveman. Punching rocks.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of stuff where it's a little bit more goofy.
Yes, like Goober
age.
Dad.
Yeah.
We're brutal, but we like love our kids. We're going to hug them. Yes, totally.
But there's more hurt in the second one.
Yeah.
And Eep is at that point so connected to Guy and then to Dawn.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, and friendships that are forming for the first time ever that aren't required, you know, like but then they become required, but then they're being put look, the nuances of the way people make animated features and television. Yeah. Incredible. And I think it's funny, I think people sometimes like an example being like I can't seem to get a manager. And, like, fine, don't care. Don't want to give more of my money away. But no one cares about voiceover. Like, no one cares about my voiceover resume in the on-camera world.
Yes.
And I find that super interesting because then if they do, I have had managers, like, want to sign me. And I've had a couple try, you know, whatever. But, like, last year I had one that, like, I was like, cool, I vibe with you. You're great. We're going to work together. And then she wanted voiceover. And I talked to Osbrink, and they were like, no. I was like, is that something I don't need a voiceover manager. I need it on camera.
Right.
And so we had a conversation. They told me how to draft the email to request not to have that in the contract. And I was like, I find it really interesting. You don't care about my voiceover resume for the work you need to do for me. But you want to take a percentage of it.
I think that's so related to the pandemic.
Yes.
Is that there was a year and a half where there were no options.
Yes.
And I'm with two. I've got on-camera management and voiceover management.
Wow,
I'm
you
with,
do?
Yeah, I'm with Jason Marks Talent.
Oh, you're with Jason Marks. I have a friend with Jason.
They're great.
Yeah.
But what they get me is very, very specific.
Yes.
I will see the occasional commercial audition, but for the most part, it's because I voice match. So that's the lane that, and I get promo stuff too. Sure. But most of that stuff comes from the New York office for me.
Is that CESD? Yeah.
But then my on-camera folks, because they were kicking around, they've submitted me for one or two VO things, and I've been like, okay,
sure,
but and I understand why.
Yeah. Are you CESD for on-camera too?
On-camera commercial, not theatrical. Okay. Theatrical, I'm with Clear Talent.
Got it. Clear. Yeah.
So
okay.
I've got a
team.
Nice big team.
Yes.
It didn't come easy, and it didn't come quick.
No.
But I'm very blessed to have a team across the board that I've got a solid relationship with.
Yes.
And
I
trust, and you know
that I feel like the only person in LA that doesn't complain about my agent. Like Osbrink, I don't complain. Like me and the Scott, who's a junior agent now, but he started as assistant, and he's so talented, and he's such a great writer, and he's a great director, and I'm so excited for him. Like, he sends me gifts in emails. You know, like,
so sweet.
I'm like,
awesome.
He responds, like, because I'm often send things late, and and I'll be like, oh, don't lock me out of the Dropbox. Like, I'll send an email being like, it's up, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it right now. I
and
put it up, but I'm getting it done, and it's going to be good.
It's going to be good, I swear. And then I've, like, how many times have I then sent something, and I've gotten, like, the Justin Timberlake blinking eye gif back when I'm like, it's coming. Or, like, once I sent one a whole day late, and I was like, my bad, I just forgot about this, but I did it. So here it is. Do with it. And I literally was like, do with it what you will. Send it, don't send it. I don't, whatever.
Can I still get credit? Just don't give me a zero?
Yeah, I don't want a zero on the assignment.
That's it.
And then he'll be like, ugh, it's really good. I'll call them right now. Like, it's like such a like beautiful. Great, like, you know, beautiful. And it's like a great, lovely, and I never expect them to do that.
Yeah.
I'm late. If I miss the opportunity, I miss the opportunity. Scatterbrain me. Oops. So I got in on the Osbrink train, and and then Croods was the first animated thing I booked.
Amazing.
So
it was my first series regular too.
Yeah.
On an animated thing.
Yeah.
I'd done one on camera series regular before, but it was, I mean, it was just.
Have you done animation stuff though before?
Little. I mean, I've auditioned for a lot. But I always knew that the space.
When you audition for animation as much as we audition for animation, it feels like you do animation.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
When people are like, that was your first animation job? The answer is yes, but like I've been doing it
first job, but it's the first time that I beat out everybody for it.
Yes.
And the other part of it is that with voice matching, and it's unusual.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's like with DreamWorks, right? Like so much of their stuff is based on other properties.
Yes.
So Mick Wingard has got, Jack Black down, and Darren DePaul is Abominable.
Yeah.
Like everyone kind of has their guys.
Yes.
So it's like trying to figure
Find...
out, and like your. And I mean, I think I remember if I told you
but
this
tell it on the mic.
I'll say it on the mic. Well, I mean, I met Emma Stone when I was in La La Land. So like the really cool, amazing thing about talking with you and knowing you is like, and the cool part about doing the show with you is you and Emma have very, very not only similar voice prints, but very similar energy.
Yes. And
it's really like, you're so radically different in so many different ways, but energetically it's similar and it's super fun.
Yeah.
And like, so when we were talking about this at the panel that unfortunately you missed, but it's okay. You were there in spirit.
It's fine. I was shouting to the mic. It's because I booked another job.
You booked another job. You were working.
I was working.
But we did a panel at LA Comic-Con and the rest of the cast was there, and Serena and Mark and Todd. But we were talking about like the table read.
Yeah.
Where it was like we had just watched a work print of New Age.
Yeah. And
then we sat down with the scripts the day before the world shut down.
Yeah.
And we read it, and you had the opening line. And your interpretation of Eep vocally, and then how you acted that character. It was like the movie never stopped.
Oh, Kiff.
It was so cool. And like, I'm moved by it because it's the part of this town that I hoped to experience, of being surrounded by so much remarkable talent. It was so cool to be a part of that. And then to read and have people react to my work the way I was reacting to everybody else.
Because I was blown away by you. I remember standing with you in that corner when we all stood up, and I was like, excuse me.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
I know. But it's so funny because do you feel that way about yourself, though? Like, when I do it, I'm not going... Like, this is... I mean, of course, we're not, like, patting ourselves on the back. Sure. But, like, I felt out of place.
Oh.
I felt like, not like I wasn't doing a good job, but everyone else was so good. It's my first time being in a space like this.
Yeah.
I have the opening line. It felt like pressure to do well.
Yes.
And so I stood up being like, when you were complimenting me, I remember like, no. No.
Yeah.
You know, like, do you feel like you're like, no, I've got this in the bag when you do it?
Certain guys?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Like, I did not, I've never told this little story.
Ooh, tell it.
I booked Han Solo in Star Wars Forces of Destiny.
Okay.
And I was playing older Han Solo, and AJ booked young Han
I was
Solo.
going to say, I knew AJ did it.
Yeah. So I played the old one.
Okay.
And I know that if I was going to book that job, I booked it on my slate. And my slate was, and it was everything was coded, so the character in the sides was named James.
Yeah.
So I read Kiff Vanden Heuvel reading for James. And that, I'm fairly certain,
fantastic.
The job. Even the read was fine.
Sure.
And when I watch the cartoon back, I don't know that it's that it's as good as I would do it now because I'm older, because I've been doing Harrison now for a while. It was the first time I booked him. But then the compliment I got in the session was Dave Filoni on Zoom telling me, your match for Harrison is so good, you should be doing the audio commentary for the Force Awakens. Ooh. And which was really, really great. And I don't think my Han Solo in that cartoon is as good as it could be.
Right.
But when I matched him, but now after doing Call of the Wild and stuff and other projects, like, I'm like,
yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're like, oh, I got it in the bag.
And Nick got there. I had to work on Nick a bit to get there for Croods. Yeah. But like, one of the things in the sides that was so helpful was like their description of Grug was I think the way they wrote it was he's a side of beef with a heart. And it was like that kind of an idea.
Totally.
And I connected so strong to the movies.
Yeah.
You know, they like, you know,
they really,
girl dad, right?
Yes.
So like, that's
girl dad.
huge.
Yes.
Huge.
And I have a great relationship with my dad, and it's same. It's the same, and I think that's why you and I also, even when doing it.
Oh my God.
You know, it's the same. Like that takes no effort.
Yeah.
That feeling of that connection and playfulness. Like the playful guidance, and like your kids are a little bit smarter than you actually.
Totally.
Like I'm absolutely smarter than my father.
That's it.
Like
that's it. We're stuck in our ways
you know,
a little bit.
He still gets a call every time I don't know where a W-2 is, as if he can find it.
Well, if you've gone online.
If you've gone to irs.gov, you can see. Like, no, Dad, that's not where the W-2s are. But that's always his advice. It's funny because, I mean, Eep took on a life of her own. I stopped being Emma Stone.
Yeah.
By the time I don't know if anyone booked it earlier than me, but like we kept testing.
Yeah, we kept testing. I remember getting an email from Kathy like after episode 4 that was like, congratulations, you are officially booked.
Oh, okay.
So it was like there was the table read was always testing, and there were people at the table read who did not
move forward.
Finish.
Yeah.
So like that was always kind of in the winds, and
one of them also then came back for season 2. Or season 5, whatever.
Or season,
you know.
exactly.
After 26 episodes came in,
After 26 episodes came back in.
Yeah.
So like it's a really, it was a fascinating insight to be in the center kind of that cyclone. But I think after the table read, I felt like if someone doesn't want me in this cast, I don't have any indication. It's not because of anything I'm doing.
I did, yes.
And like it's going to be someone who's outside of that room, because that room was so
amazing. Yeah. And the people that didn't move forward were all
incredible.
They were all incredible, and they were replaced by people from the movie.
Yeah.
They were replaced by people who then a pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Lost all their on-camera jobs.
Yes.
And wanted voiceover to come save them.
That's right.
And then when it got busy again, some of them went back out. You know.
Right.
Which we love. We love people who are working.
That's it. That's it.
That's so interesting. Because once I booked it, I guess so by like episode 6 or 7, I started to let Emma Stone go because I was playing voice matching.
Yes.
You have to live within the confines of what that actor you've heard or know them to do or be.
Yes.
And I started to be like when Serena would ask for something, I would be like, I've done it this way because this is how Emma does it. 100 ways. I want to do it this way and see what happens. And then it often would be the funniest take.
Yeah.
Or the most real or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started to let go of trying to nail the voice match.
Yeah.
And because Eep felt naturally so closely aligned, Eep is Emma Stone and Emma Stone is me. So, like, in that operating in a vacuum, like, it doesn't matter at that
It doesn't
point.
matter. And what's really interesting to me is something that you were talking about earlier about when people are writing for you and you'll come in and look at it and go, that's not how I would do it.
Yeah.
And you're taking something that was written for Emma.
Yeah.
And taking it and filtering it through you.
Yes.
And finding your truth that you can live more truthfully in it.
Yes.
And it's a kind of a perfect exploration of really bringing yourself to a role.
And never losing Eep.
No.
Because Eep is me.
Yeah.
There's no way I would do anything that Eep wouldn't do.
Absolutely.
I'm here to do Eep, but I'm not here to do Emma Stone doing Eep.
Right.
And I think even when the sides came around, it's funny because it's funny you say the energy thing about Emma Stone. Since Superbad, I'd meet strangers. I remember checking out at Barnes & Noble once, and the checkout boy was like, you remind me of that girl from Superbad. Like, it's been a thing forever.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I get Emma Stone voice match stuff, I'm like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a big... And, the line I hear is actually her in Easy A going, no, I didn't. No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't. Like she does this like gargle almost.
Yeah.
And it's actually like in my head what I like think and do. But she's actually in a strange way almost a little more drunk than I am.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like her things tend to like and I started to get a note from Serena like it's a little swallowed. Can you? And so I started to let Emma go on that front because now I'm on mic and I'm like there. And I do that too. We are very similar. Like I do that. But I started to let her go. So it's kind of lovely to see, like, it starts to become Ally.
Yeah.
Like, as you watch.
You really do take ownership and you see it over the course of, like, and they start writing for you.
Yes.
They start writing for the way you're interpreting that character.
Yes.
And, like, the entire cast of writers, I mean, I remember sitting there reading these sides before going into a session, and Sherry's like, what's so funny? And I'm like, I'm reading the Croods script for what we're going to record tomorrow. It's brilliant and so, like...
And I knew when one of the fucking youngins was writing, I'd be like, who wrote this? Who did? I want names. Because, like, at one point, sus got put in. That's a little sus. And I was like, I think I know who this is, but Mark? And he admitted he had to have it explained to him. Like, I was like, fantastic. I know you're getting those youngins. They're starting to know what I would say, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
So funny.
It's so great, man. It's so great.
It's so
good. Like, and the thing, like, I've said this in a couple other places too, but like the stupid scene with the I Like Rocks scene
it's so good.
with Guy.
Yes.
And Darren is so brilliant in that role.
Yeah.
But like the fact that they gave us that real estate.
Truly.
To take that much time for these dumb pauses.
Yes.
And Mark and Todd were like, it was worth it.
Yeah.
It's so...
Did you guys do that episode together?
No.
Oh, you still did it separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
But I mean,
and look at how it brilliantly, and I know in your Serena episode, like, because she would read with you in a way that, like, had a flair, enough of a flair each time.
Yeah.
That you knew who you were talking to without looking at the script.
Yes.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was my one bummer.
That we didn't get to play together.
Yeah.
The only silver lining on that experience has been, like, our social media, like inside social media stuff, our text chains.
Yes.
Like, and consequently, because we didn't do that, like, there's more draw to try to.
Yes, that's true.
And, like, to see Matt and AJ having the moment with X-Men.
Oh,
like,
my God.
It's so awesome.
It's so funny because, like, I am getting texts from people being like, "This your dude?"
Yeah.
And like of people about X-Men because I shared so much of it, and it's so funny because it feels like I'm on the ride, and it has nothing to do with me.
Nope. I literally feel like I'm in the back seat of a car and watching these guys drive, and it's so thrilling to see it.
And even Matthew's wife, Rachel, like, she just had a like, she got to be in it too, and she's so funny because she's constantly like, when are you coming to Ojai? They want me to come. They've adopted AJ and I, so they call us their grown-up children.
Amazing.
So, like, Matthew just messaged me making fun of my most recent announcement and was like, "Oh, are you finally? Oh my God, I actually meant to screenshot this and send it to you. Oh, are you finally like an egotistical villain? So you're like your typecast is accurate, whatever." And I was like, "Yeah." And I learned all the screaming I have to do for a role like this from the best role model in the world, Kiff. And he was like, "You're unadopted." And then like Rachel says, "I'm not allowed to unadopt you." Like you know, that kind of thing. I think you're right. That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And then it made, like, I really prioritized. Like, I want to be somebody who's too busy to, like, go to screenings, but I'm not. I will do everything I can to be available
100%
for that stuff. So, like, the one time I booked a job for that stupid Comic-Con panel, I was devastated.
And the funniest part, and, like, I remember you called in while we were there. And I
tried to call and nobody could answer.
Sorry,
I know.
We're all being good. But, like, and there were, like, 6 people in the audience. And it was and it was Amy Landecker's family and Tisha and Mark's kids and Sherry and my daughter and like, and it was the sweetest. It was the sweetest thing. And I was like, I don't care. I'm with my people. I'm not doing it for them.
I was gonna say
it's
not really. We don't. I mean, like, Croods doesn't really have a quote unquote fan base. Like, it's about us.
Right.
At that point, it's about. I mean, did I mention earlier that I wasn't doing anything for the attention?
I will say, by the way, that all of my daughter's friends at school watch the show. like the show, know the show very well. They're just not demonstrative with their fandom.
Right.
But it's known like...
Same with the kids I babysit.
Yeah.
I mean, they watch it for me, of course.
Sure.
But then it was cute, like, months after the first season had come out, and I'd show up at the house, and, like, they would still be... It would be on.
Yes.
And then they'd be watching, and then, oh, my God! Like, they wouldn't have put it on for me.
Yes.
It was just being watched,
and
that's lovely.
And my nieces and nephews...
Love.
Holy cow. They are nuts for it.
Aww.
The last time when I was back from my dad's wedding last summer,
yeah,
I sat down and Penny and Louisa just peppered me with questions about the show. And Uncle Kiff, do you remember when this happened? Do you remember when Eep and Dawn did this?
I love it.
The thing I learned,
and
it's the thing.
Actually, which episode?
I wasn't seeing that. Yeah. Oh, I did. Isn't it so funny? But then the fascinating part of it to me, and this is what I've learned through Richie Rich, is that they're not
Richie Rich the movie?
No, the TV series. I was on Richie Rich, a TV series. I played the dad on that show.
Stop it.
Yeah, on Netflix.
I watched the movie. Wait, right? There was a movie. Okay.
That's with Macaulay Culkin.
Okay.
They did a live action 2-season, 20-episode reboot live action on Netflix. It's still there. Then I played the dad. Yeah. It's a multicam. All the kids have grown up. One of the kids on our show has gone on to be number 3 on IMDb, Jenna Ortega.
Oh,
so
sure. Of course, Jenna.
Jenna came up on our show.
That's very cool.
Jake Brennan, who played Richie, was the DP on my short. He's grown into a wonderful DP. Lilith Carlin is working in working crew. I mean, it's cool. It's such an amazing community.
Yeah.
And the cool part about it is just wait.
Yeah.
Let this generation get about 10 years under their belt, and then they're coming to the panels. Then they're coming to see.
Right. Then it's their childhood they want to go see.
Their nostalgia.
I got a FaceTime literally last week from my sister's high school best friend. Her name's Kara. Her basketball number was 22, and she went by 22, and she's still 22 in my phone. And she has 2 kids now, and God love her. She is the kind of mom that you would never have expected to be a mother.
Wow.
She's someone that's shut up all the time. It's actually hilarious. She's hilarious about it. She loves them so much. But she FaceTimed me the other morning, and I answered, and I don't get regular calls from her. So I was like, what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
And they sent me the sweetest video when Croods premiered of them watching and reacting to, she turns to the TV, turns to the kids, and they're like, who are we watching? Whatever. And then when I start with the first line, she turns the camera back to hers, and the way she guffaws, and she goes, you're the main character? And I was of course, I was I'm not. It's an ensemble show.
Right. We're all we're all the ensemble.
Yes,
we're all
the ensemble. But yeah, I opened the series. I don't think she realized what it was. So that was sometimes I watch the video when I need a little ego boost, because it makes me cry.
Yeah. Beautiful.
They FaceTimed me, and she was trying to get her kids to say, what did you just say you wanted to watch? We haven't watched it in a while. What did you just say you wanted to watch? And she's you're just being shy. You just said it. You're just being shy because Ally's on the phone. Okay, so they said they wanted to watch Croods. And I was that's so cute. She was well, somebody put it on in preschool the other day, put the series on. And they were so they came home wanting to watch it. And I asked, why do you want to watch that? And instead of saying we watched it in preschool, she said, because I like Eep. I want to be like Eep. I'm going to cry. And then she asked them why. And she got them to say it to me. She's just so powerful and strong. And I was that is why I want young girls to watch it.
Yeah.
Because no one is anybody's bitch in this show. Well, maybe Grug.
Maybe Grug is everyone's bitch, but that's okay.
Yeah.
He's also, not.
Yes, he's also absolutely not.
You gotta have someone strong.
Yes,
there. Absolutely. And Thunk is just not strong enough.
Yeah. So I was so touched that they're coming back around to it.
Yeah.
And in a way because she wants to be strong. And I was so touched by that I get to represent that.
And you go on adventures.
And I go on adventures.
Constantly.
Constant adventures.
That show is about going on adventures.
It really was. It's funny because people always, I'm not a vision boarder. I'm not a I know Viola Davis says it. I know people say have specific, Oprah says it, specific goals. You should have the goal. I don't have goals because in my wildest imagination, I wouldn't have dreamed up Croods. I don't I feel like that's almost limiting. I don't want to put myself on a trajectory or hyper focus only to consistently, my friends that do that are consistently crushed, consistently jaded. And I love the people that it works for. Some people need it. They need even the pressure of the potential disappointment or shame. I don't need it.
Yeah.
And I love that Croods came to me in a way that since I was 15, I've been told Emma Stone was a thing, right? I love that it came to me as a sprinkle of glitter.
Yeah.
Of you've already kind of been doing this naturally.
Yeah.
What happens if we now?
Yeah. And here's this gift to survive the pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, what a gift. Truly, I get nostalgic for the pandemic. And of course, not the horror surrounding it. But the time of
being able to work together.
Us all having this to look forward to every week.
Yeah.
And when the pressure, I work so good not in a pressure cooker. The pressure of life being off outside of that.
Yes.
I'm sure everybody works better not in a pressure cooker, but me particularly, I don't do well with pressure.
Yeah.
Pushing on me won't get me to do more.
Yeah.
I'm the absolute gift. And then I had to pay SAG and join and
and away you go. Well, it's really interesting what you were just saying about vision boarding and these specific goals. And I've been, one of the things, and it's not to push back against the notion of having specific things to target, but I've gotten really, really specific about certain things, like you were just saying. And there's a guy I've been I had him on the show, this guy Don Green, and he talks about detaching from expectation. And a lot of times we put these goals or things to aspire for and we attach to that and then don't do anything to pull you off that track.
Yes.
But then it's then my action of, I want to be present in this scene.
Yeah.
I want to play the truth of this moment is not happening.
Yes.
What's happening is my intention here is to win this job because I've always wanted to play Superman.
Yes.
Or I've always wanted to play Yogi Bear.
And that's all the way back to what we were talking about how sometimes I still need to pull myself back because I'm trying to prove myself still.
Yeah.
I'm I want this. Right. I need to show I can do it.
Yeah.
Instead of just being it.
And do the job.
Yeah.
And just
doing the job.
Do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, because even as stuff started to come after, now I've worked on some animation outside of Croods, but just a couple. Yeah. And some voice matching. Yeah. And then the new thing is the next thing. And the new thing is Thelma the Unicorn. And Netflix original animated feature film directed by Jared Hess and Lin Wang.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Jared, have you seen Napoleon Dynamite?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, of course.
All right.
Of course. I was.
Okay.
You know what's funny? 9th grade, they made us watch it in school.
It's a brilliant movie.
I remember being you guys are making us watch this? It's a brilliant movie, but I was 14 and I was yep. Can I go to the journalism lab? I genuinely was I got stuff to do. Because I was a little overachiever. Jared's delightful.
Awesome.
But it was a audition request from Simbri. Oh. She'd moved over to Netflix. Who and Simbri used to be the associate at DreamWorks, so she knew me from Croods. She's the one who walked me out of my producer session and was that was amazing. So but that was our only interaction ever. And otherwise, I guess she just knew me from it and of me, and they were trying to cast this role, and I guess she's written or as is pretty unlikable. Which is so funny. She just said that to me recently. We had lunch, and it's so funny because they asked me some press questions last week, and I was one of the first things I said, what was a challenge in playing Nikki, and the first thing I wrote was, I actually think the challenge is, you think you're supposed to hate her, but you actually have to like her to play her. To play a villain, you have to like yourself.
That's right.
like I have empathy for her.
Yes.
She's a pop star that is watching her fame be stolen by someone who just turned up on the scene, and she doesn't believe in herself enough to know that she has enough. She doesn't have to take it from other people.
Yeah.
And I don't need to bring all of that in. I just have to know that.
Yes.
Right? Like, and so, and because it was requested, no pressure.
No pressure.
I was like, somebody's requesting me for this thing, and I direct other people. For Bill, and so I see auditions that come through, and I hadn't seen this, so I knew it was a request because they were specifically looking.
Yes.
So I had bonus information, and I was like, okay, they know what I do, so I'm just gonna do what I do, and I just went for it, and then had a callback, and with Lynn, and then that was like a Zoom, and I'm in my closet. Like my closet is not a decked out studio. I'm just in my closet. You know.
Yeah.
And then got the call that I booked it. And the best part, and this is about the play thing, was that and I think I've told you this, but that when my agent called and revealed what it was, like they told me it was, dummy sides. It was all hidden, as if I would know what Thelma the Unicorn was.
Yeah.
I didn't, but it turns out a lot of Middle America does.
Okay.
Yes, because it's a book.
Okay.
And the book was written by the author who wrote The Bad Guys.
Oh, really?
Which was a DreamWorks film.
Yeah.
So they've Jared and Jerusha optioned this book. And when they called, they were like, they want to rush to get you in. Most of the animation is locked.
Oh, wow.
So heavy almost, ADR lift.
Yeah, heavy ADR.
And they said they want to rush to get you in. They love your improv so much. They want to get as much into it as they can.
Beautiful.
And that was my gold star of that booking. Like, not everything else. Because I was just playing, and then they saw that it was worth something. Yeah. And we even talk about, like, we've talked about since that, like, we're not disappointed, but like, a little bit of a bummer. Like, this role could have been so much more if we'd had Ally sooner.
If we had you earlier. Yeah.
And that's being discussed. And then,
but man, to have that out there and to have that among the casting community and the folks, that, like, it's just. And
it's just like Croods all over again. I'm on this lineup with Will Forte and Fred Armisen and Edie Patterson. And like, these are comedy icons. And I hate improv. I am good at improving in a scene.
Yes.
But
it's different from doing scene work.
No, I don't. I've took IO.
Yeah.
I did not like it. I do not. It stresses me out.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my thing. And I have so many friends who are improv actors who think I'm funny, who are like, please go try again.
But
like,
no,
but
you
I don't like it.
But you don't need to. You don't need to go into a room and have to come up with, get all the exposition out and then the pressure to be funny.
Yeah.
And all this other kind of stuff. And I mean, the way I approach improv too is like, I would no expectation on it. Yeah. It's about living truthfully in the moment and making it up.
Yes.
And if something funny comes out, that's because I happen to be a funny person.
I every time I would do improv, and when I was going through IO's classes, like every time I was up, all my scenes were just sweet.
Yeah.
They were natural, they were happening, because I was doing the, like, try not to be funny.
Yeah.
But then I never got to be the funny one. And here's the thing. I feel like I'm worthless if I'm not the funny one. Which is interesting, because Eep is kind of a straight character.
Yes.
Eep is not super funny throughout the entire, like, she is not given jokes.
Yeah.
And it was a weird challenge for me at one point.
And I'll tell you, this is again a compliment to what you have been able to do with that character. That's the first time I had that thought. As you just said it, that Eep is the straight. And you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And what ended up happening in a really beautiful way is that the guys, both Chris Sanders in the original, but then also what Mark and Todd and our team of writers have done is they found a way to kind of redefine that dynamic where guy ends up being the straight guy to Dawn and Eve.
Kind of.
And you guys are kind of like, he's that sort of a guy who's lived on his own is like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Guys. And your recklessness balanced by Dawn's who knows what's going on with
I know.
Dawn's
I want to
crazy.
say idiocy, but there's a nicer word for it.
There's
there's
her
a
naivete.
Yes.
And it's in the movie too. Like, I mean, what Kelly Tran does with her is so great. The two of them together are marvelous. Want to jump it? Like that.
Yes, it's so good.
So cool.
Yes.
And it's such a Duke Boys sort of energy that just isn't out there.
Yes.
And it makes those characters so unique.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true. But like, and I wanted to be funny. It's so funny because I would sometimes play. I would be like, but this is funny. I'm going to do it a funny way. But someone else actually has the joke.
Yes.
And so Serena would be like, great, let's do another pass. And never, like, let's try it this way, right?
Yes.
And I would be like, I know what you want. You want me to not be funny? Okay, I'll pull it back. Like, there were a couple times where I was, like, jealous of other people knowing that those were gonna be the clips pulled to make people laugh. And there's like, emotional wounds about that being like how I have worth. Right? We all know. Yeah. And so it was like also a beautiful, interesting challenge because like it forced me to just be present. Yep. Because that's not my job here. Yeah. Because I'm here to do the job.
Right. How can you be in service?
Yes.
How are you in service to the story and the service to the other characters in here, and trust that there's going to be episodes where you're going to get to do that.
Yes, and I did. Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. What else? Thelma the Unicorn, May 17th.
Thelma the Unicorn, May 17th. We've gone around the horn. I want to have you come back in, and I want to talk about all the therapy work that you're doing as well. Yeah. Because I think that would be very valuable for a lot of folks. So let's.
I would. Part 2?
This is already part 2.
I was going to say, this
we
is
just
so
did
much.
part
I'm really
2
sorry.
of one.
I don't even
do
know
you want? Listen, I would have. What time is it?
3:17. It's not that bad. Are you supposed to? I don't know what. Oh, what time you pick up? 4.
I'm in charge. Rick Rubin posts podcasts that are 5 hours long.
I'm in charge. I was worried about your child.
Oh no, it's 3:17. If it's too late, Sherry will go and pick her up, and if Sherry's still here, then I'll go pick her up.
That's adorable. Oh, I love it.
How can people find you on socials?
At Ally, son of a Dixon. Mm-hmm. Kiff and I have additional private information about that. That's why we're laughing. Ally, son of a Dixon. I only have Instagram. There's a TikTok out there that I never use. Yeah. I don't have Twitter. Amazing. They scare me. All the social media scare me. Yeah. But I like the Instagrams because I make the political parodies on it.
You do. You have the best Instagram of anyone I follow.
Look. I want to be humble about that, but you're right. My Instagram is very good.
It's extremely entertaining. It's extremely, but like.
There's no niche. No. Like there's no, but it's just very me.
It's very.
I was gonna say there's no category.
No.
Like AJ once said, like I go to Ally's page and I know I'm at least probably gonna get Ally's butt. And then she's probably hunting down. I dance for those who don't know. And then she's probably hunting down a thief, but also probably a 20-minute rant into camera about SAG policies. Like there's something for everyone.
Which is what that place is meant for. I did a short with an actor named Stephen Ogg recently, who's known to a lot of video gamers from Grand Theft Auto. Okay. And we were talking about Instagram and how to navigate that, and you're doing it right. Like what he said was really interesting. He said, I look at this as an opportunity. It's a channel, it's a broadcast channel to be able to create poetry and music and art. And I want to do that with my thing, not necessarily go, oh, you guys, I just had the greatest crepe. So like that is it's a network channel in the hands of everyone
of the people.
The people. And if you think in a way of how can I share, what would my channel be? Yeah. If this was my reality channel, this is what it would be. Yeah. I mean, my Instagram feed is one of 2 things. Well, one of 3 things. Either me doing an impression. I haven't done impressions in a long time in there just because it's getting played out. But then I'm either doing VO tips that are serious or VO tips that are not. Yes. And
although I really miss the Australia What's for Dinner content.
Really? Oh my God.
I was so delighted to watch you be trapped for 2 weeks in Australia with meal deliveries, and you would just talk about what the hell you had to eat.
Oh my gosh.
I was also getting to know you. Yeah, yeah. So I was like, what's he up to tonight?
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? Mine is.
Look, it's a kiwi. It's a kiwi. I'm gonna peel this kiwi. But now I'm learning that you shouldn't peel kiwis. You should just slice them up and eat them with the
You chew the rind, or you eat
the rind. You could bite into it like an apple. You don't have to peel it. That the rind is even more benefit.
I was gonna say most fruits that are edible rinds, the rind has all the good stuff.
Like bananas.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone did a sketch of someone like eating the whole thing.
Ooh, I'm gonna eat a raw banana.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, we could easily.
I know
we could do another hour. We could do another 2 hours.
We could do.
I could fill up
forever.
the hard drive.
I know you could.
We just crossed the 2-hour limit. That's where we're at.
Damn. Okay, this is the time to. I didn't even talk about my hobbies. Yes, we're gonna.
What are your hobbies?
Well, that's my hobby is trying to find a hobby. That is my hobby, and that is my. Oh, okay. You can cut this in late for another. Do you cut them up?
No.
Okay.
Sometimes the only one I did chop one up. I did a 2-episode thing with Rama Valori, and it was the same thing. We just talked for a really long time.
Yes, for too long and cut it up. I was gonna say you can just cut this and slide it
in. But I might release this as it is because, like I said, Rick Rubin has been releasing really long ones, and he's got ads to break it up.
Yeah, but people do it. I do too, by the way.
Sure.
Like, I can't finish a movie in one night. It'll just take me 5 days to finish it, but I'll do it.
That's it.
I was just gonna say my thing that's better than auditioning or jobs. I've just decided my acting can't be my thing that makes me happy.
Yes.
Because accountants, I always say like accountants go do accounting, but they don't then come home and gather friends together to do accounting in a group at a table account. And then they don't go see accounting seminars for fun on Friday and Saturday nights. So there comes a point when you start to become successful at this that I actually have to look at it as a job.
Yes.
Because it starts to steal the love of it if it fills my free time.
Dude, I had this very conversation with Kari Walgren 5 years ago where we were talking about this exact same thing of like, what do you do when you get what you have been chasing?
Yes.
And your favorite thing in the world is your gig.
Yes.
How do you find satisfaction?
Yes, because it starts to lose its luster.
It becomes a job.
And I no longer get a dopamine hit when I call and get a book, when I get a call that I've booked something. Yeah. It's just another job. My question is, how much does it pay? That's my question now. Because like it is my full-time job now. So now I have bills to pay.
Yeah.
And so my thing that keeps me sane outside of that being the thing I strive for is I have turned trying to find a hobby into my hobby. And it's like my favorite thing in the world because it's constant adventure.
Yes.
My dynamic brain, like and if I get bored, I leave.
Yep.
And then it's interesting because in our, world, people monetize hobbies, talk about pressure.
Yeah.
Like, my pole dancing started to get, my agent was like, we need videos. And the second she asked me for a video.
Wow, really?
So that it's accessible for casting, I started to hate it. The second because then it was like, okay, well, if I put it up on my profile, I have to stay good at it.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it.
Yeah.
Now it's how good can I get at it? Because what if I can get better and that gets me other jobs?
Right.
And then I actually started to experience like injuries. And then I took a 6-month break and I've been off for a long time now. And then I'm like, well, I can't post a video now because if I got called in and had to do a trick, I don't know that I'd have it.
Yeah.
So like I don't like our hobbies because singing was a hobby. Acting was a hobby. Playing pretend is a hobby.
Yeah.
Any instrument is a hobby, except for then it gets dancing's a hobby, and then it gets. I mean, people who are like carpenters for a hobby, it gets pulled into this world.
Yes.
And of course, it feeds it, it fuels it. Blah blah blah.
You can make things for your house or whatever, but like it's a different skill set when you're making something for yourself.
Yes. The second you tell me, oh, this character's a carpenter, I need you to learn how to build a boat. I'm like, oh no, I just like. Etching my name into blocks of wood. And now, I have to be good at it.
Right.
And so I have this thing now where my hobby is not having a hobby. And so I let people take me on the rides of their hobbies. And that is or I executively, try to find new stuff. And that is my favorite thing. And I will try to, once a week, find that, especially if it's a work-heavy week.
Okay.
Find a way to have fun.
So I have 2 pairs. I have my pair and then I have Sherry's pair, but I think you would fit them.
Probably. Size 9.5.
Arm extensions.
Hold on.
Arm extensions. Quadruped movement, like an ape.
So you walk like this?
You walk on all fours.
I want to do that.
Okay.
Stop it. Are they custom made?
Yeah.
Stop it. What do you do? Just for fun?
Yeah.
You fight people?
No.
In my head, it's like a sumo wrestling thing.
So again, this is one of those things that could potentially be monetized for work down the road.
Sure.
But what got me interested in it, and truthfully, what got me interested in it was seeing Terry Notary do that stuff in Planet of the Apes, doing motion capture.
I was going to say, it feels like a mocap thing.
It is.
Okay.
So, like, although he did it without using mocap in a movie called The Square by the guy who made Triangle of Science.
Okay.
Triangle
of despair, of
Triangle of
sadness.
Yeah, Ruben Ostrand. The movie is called The Square, and Terry did a whole Science Triangle of Sadness. This is terrible. This is terrible. I'm going to edit that so it's just like we both go sadness. So, but it gets you about 6 inches to 12 inches off the ground, and you walk on all fours, and it's like having crutches on your arms. And Terry was doing workshops in quadrupedal movement. Best acting training I've ever had in anything. Gave me a new vocabulary for it. I had him on the podcast. It's a blast. And then during the pandemic, when I wasn't recording the Croods, every morning we'd get up at 6, go down to Malibu Lagoon and run like apes past Jennifer Garner's house. It was crazy. And then
I'm obsessed with you knowing where Jennifer Garner's house is.
Yeah. It was a summer home. But like she came out one morning and saw us out there. It was like, what on earth are you guys doing?
I can hear her saying that too.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
That's
awesome.
It was
very cool.
That's
We see her on the pretty frequently.
Yeah,
we're down there all the time.
Yeah.
And then Terry wiped out one day, which was kind of hilarious. Terry wiped out in front of her, he was so embarrassed. It's like I just fell in front of the one. He's married to a rockette. Terry's fine.
Okay, all right.
So like, but when he worked on Call of the Wild, he used them to run like a dog. So he played Buck. He was the reference. So he and Harrison became close working on that project. So like, it's just cool. It's just a different way of moving.
Whoa.
And it's cross-body movement. It just makes you think differently about stuff.
Yeah.
It was one of the
cross-body
gifts.
because you keep doing this because you run like this.
Yeah. So like the
one-sided?
sequences, if you're walking like an ape, so I'm gonna demonstrate.
Which, by the way, you can tell me this off mic.
Yeah, but it's still fun to have records. So,
yeah.
So if I have all four, so I lead with the left leg forward, then right arm.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Right. Then right leg,
and
left
then,
arm.
Okay.
And then that's the pattern of walking that way.
So when you run.
But that's for ape. So if you're a dog moves differently. So the dog is bilateral movement rather than cross-lateral. So if you watch how a dog moves, a dog will like right, left, right, left, and then run.
Right, because then it's because that's like a horse too, right? Because the horses do together.
We'll get all four legs off the ground at one point. So we would go hiking, trails. We did the sand dunes up by Point Mugu.
Yeah. Oh, that hill sucks.
Well, do it on fours with arm extensions with a sandbag tied to your waist up and down 10 times.
No thanks.
That was our morning.
Can I start lighter than that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I just want to walk down Cahuenga. Yeah.
Start in the backyard. We got yelled at by ladies on the trail who were like, "You're scaring our horses." I'm like,
we are your horses,
we are
bitch.
Your horses. Get on board. Grab a saddle. All right, let me set you free.
This was so awesome. So good.
This was really good.
This was so. I mean, I don't mean to be an attention whore, but like we're great.
We're great. This was really, really great. We should do a movie review podcast. A movie review show where you watch movies that you haven't seen for the first time and we get your unfiltered opinion of them.
I would 100% participate in that.
Okay.
Talk about a hobby of jack of all trades, mediocre. So I would be mediocre at that and I would love to do it.
But I think it would be fantastic.
I think it would be so fun actually. And then occasionally we switch it up and I make you watch some sort of millennial bullshit you haven't seen.
Totally. I want to see it. I want to know.
And then we get your kid in here.
Oh my God.
Wait. This is a genius idea.
It's a genius idea.
Are we geniuses? Everyone listening to this should know we're geniuses.
We're geniuses. All right. That's enough genius for you. Thank you for joining us for a nice long episode of All Over Voiceover. Ally Dixon, you are a national treasure. I'm so happy to be your friend.
Oh, I'm so happy to be your friend. Yeah, thank you.
All right. More coming. Talk to you soon. This has been All Over Voiceover with Kiff VH, produced by Werewolf Theirwolf. Please consider giving the show a positive rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Look, I know I keep asking for a review, but if you found just one piece of info from me or my guests helpful, please share that with me and share it and help grow our VO community. Feel free to catch up with me on Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, or Vero @KiffVH, or hit me up on LinkedIn. It's Kiff Van Uval. Just search for Kiff. We probably know a couple of same people. And check out my website, www.kiffvh.com, for my reels, updates, and to reach out to me directly for coaching or appearances. Claim victory and depart the field. Taxi? Taxi? I guess I gotta walk from here. Okay.